Kenya, we believe in the people. We believe in friendship. We believe in neighborhood. We believe in the community.
You cannot be on your deathbed and thinking, I should have tried. Take more responsibility for the damages or the issues that we create while setting up businesses that might be viable here.
When you agree all the time, it's either one of you is lying to each other or it's either both of you are fools. So disagreeing in a company or as founders is very important.
The stories we tell shape the systems we live in. Welcome to the Green Times Redefining Success. We believe that impact entrepreneurship is the most exciting and defining business model of our time, and much needed. My name is Kiki Boreel. I'm a fashion model turned circularity expert and transition lover. And in this podcast, I'll be talking with innovative founders that are reshaping our economy. What are they building? What can we learn from them? And what keeps them up at night? We'll be starting in East Africa, where the entrepreneurial ecosystem is growing. In the Green Times Redefining Success, we will bring you the stories that matter. Today, I speak with Alex Musembi and Elmar Stromer from Africa Collect Textiles, an organization turning textile waste into opportunity. By collecting and transforming discarded clothing, they reduce environmental impact while creating local jobs and circular systems. In this episode, we explore how they turn waste into real value on the ground. Welcome, Alex and Elmar from Africa Collect Textiles. Happy to have you on the podcast today. How are we feeling?
Good.
Thank you.
Before we're going to dive into Africa Collect Textiles, we're going to dive a little bit in where you guys are from, because I feel to really understand what someone is doing, you need to understand who they are. So Alex, you were saying you went to university here in Nairobi. Did you grow up in Nairobi as well?
Nope. I was born, of course, I'm a Kenyan. I was born in Upper Eastern. That is a place called Isiolo. And I came to Nairobi for the first time when I was joining college in 2008. So between 2008 to 2012, that's why I was doing my bachelor degree. And that tells you then I came to Nairobi only because of studies.
To study?
Yes. Normally in Kenya, then you have... it was 844 system. Now they changed that. Like you have 8 years in primary, and then you have 4 years in high school, and then you have another 4 years in college or university. Therefore, when I completed my high school, that was in 2006, then I had to stay like 1.5 years, and then I joined the university through a government program. Therefore, I was selected to join the University of Nairobi because it was being financed by the government. So therefore, it was not by accident.
No. But you had to be selected, so you were quite ambitious to do more.
Yes, academically, I would say I was good because for you to be a government sponsored, then you have to achieve a specific grade.
Yeah.
And by our time, anybody who had a B stand and above, then he get a government scholarship. Then I was lucky then because I was in that line of more than B and above. Yes,
lucky,
so
or you worked
like
hard maybe to get B and above.
They say in Kenya, like if you have C+, then you also qualify to be to go to the university, but the government cannot finance that because of the limited in terms of financing. So I can say I saw education as an opportunity to change, or rather to give myself an opportunity to go into a greater height. So I tried to put more effort in that line. I didn't have this great opportunity, maybe as compared to Elmore or other people from Europe. And for me to bridge the gap between myself and other people in terms of income, I saw education as one of the way to do that. And I knew that if I don't score high, then my dream will be shattered. So I had to put a lot of sleepless nights to ensure that is done. So I'll not say I'm the most clever person in Kenya, but I will say through putting more time in the studies, then and scoring high grade, then it gave me that open chance to be selected.
And how is that for you, Elmar? Because you didn't grow up in Kenya. You went to school, I guess, in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Did you also see education as something really important?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was not a very great student, I would say, but I took my studies later on quite seriously. So
What did you
yeah,
study?
in the Netherlands also I think we are more privileged in the sense that you have more time to to develop yourself or to realize that it's now really time to go to work. So here the competition is quite intense, especially when you need government funding to actually study. But what I studied. Well, eventually I studied human technology and I went to Delft, industrial design engineering. So I have a Delft background.
And that's where you kind of became passionate about something. Like, did it
Yeah.
inspire you a bit
No,
more?
I was already doing the eco design kind of courses. So
Okay.
I was trying to because like product design is not only about how can we make products and sell as much as possible. Also, it's also possible to be educated in that way, but it's also about designing smarter products and looking at conserving materials or conserving resources.
But was that in the course already, or was that something that was in you and you were asking critical questions about the courses?
The thing is, what if you want to go deeper into that? Yeah, so there was, strangely enough, there is a lot of these examples of good examples of like successful products, or like the Senseo coffee machine, or like how Unilever is selling small sachets with washing powder in Africa, and how that allows people to consume small bits because they don't have so much money, but they eventually they spend much more on the washing powder. So these are like how do you call it? It's conflicting sometimes a little bit with indeed the mind, because
With your mind?
yes, with my mind. And it is, so what exactly is success? We come to, like, what is a successful product and what is a successful strategy, and how can you on the one hand it's about serving people, but it's also like the problems that you are creating, like sausage in nature, were not so much addressed. So it was really sort of like a top-down sometimes, like how do you serve the bottom of the pyramid, also a horrible term, and basically having a lot of business success. But it was not about how can you create systems that do not cause so much environmental damage.
But
And
those
you
were
need to have very
questions-
specific, you need a very specific courses. So you need to do
Okay.
other things to be able to go in that direction, because 90% of such courses is about how can you design a great Senseo coffee machine.
To make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then, so intrinsically, you wanted to do something already eco-design, or is that from your family, or were you inspired by friends? How come you were interested in this side?
Yeah, that is also a good question. I think it's also, yeah, I come from we both, I think, come from tiny villages. So I grew up in the village. I was not born there, but I grew up in the village with 600 people. So it was a lot of nature, and we had a lake, and it was great. And yes, I think I've always been sort of interested in trying to preserve that. Yeah.
Preserve nature. And for you, Alex, do you also feel growing up in a village surrounded by nature has shaped you?
Not really, but growing up in a memorable environment, I would say that. But not in terms of nature, but I would say in terms of people, that would be the great memory.
The people, like it's a strong community, you mean, or in what sense?
Yeah, because in Kenya, we believe in the people. We believe in friendship. We believe in neighborhood. We believe in the community.
But I think you guys really are supplementary to each other in that way, because you're talking a lot about the human aspect, you're talking a lot about the environmental aspect. You both come from villages. That's really, it adds to each other. Do you clash sometimes as well?
I would say yes, many times, and that's normal in a business setting. But what I realize, it makes me better as a person, because then I've been brought up from a different environment, so I can also assume Elma the same. And we keep learning each day. And nothing best in an organization whereby you can challenge each other for the benefit of the organization. Nothing good in an organization when you want the best for the company. And I feel this is what we are doing. And I normally have this statement saying, when you agree all the time, it's either one of you is lying to each other, or it's either both of you are fools. So disagreeing in a company or as founders is very important.
And how do you create that environment of open conversation? Is that something you've talked about at the beginning, or is it something that came to you while you're working with each other?
I would say, since I knew and I came to know about Elma, it has taken a lot of time. You understand someone's personality, you understand people's culture, where they're coming from. Because there are some things as a Dutch people they do, and there's some things as a Kenyans we do. If you don't try to learn these two lines, then you may end up misunderstanding the other person. While it's a culture, it's a culture thing.
Yeah.
So trying to learn also country or other people's personalities is very key.
Very important.
Very important.
And then maybe, because now we're already talking about how you guys are working together, but you first still had to come to Nairobi. Why did you come here? What made you want to move away from Delft, maybe?
I was living in Rotterdam back then. Yeah, so in my first job, I was working for NVU, and I was like consulting for Kiki, where he was also part of back then already. So I was doing research with Delft, with the university. We're doing research on textile recycling, and I was involved in an automatic sorting line. And we were trying to develop new products with textile waste, because it is or wearable clothing that is shipped to Eastern Europe or Africa, or it is filling material as insulation material. Yeah. We were trying to do something in the middle.
To back up a little bit,
yeah.
NVU is a Dutch venture builder. You went to work for them. Were you requesting textiles, or was it something they had a job, you did the job, and you became passionate about it, or were you already, okay?
Yeah, so I became passionate about it. So I find the topic quite interesting, and I saw a huge problem also, and I got to understand a little bit the chain, how things are working, how the collection and the sorting, and how the funds are running from, and how the mitumba or the secondhand clothing ends up in Africa, and what the problems are then. Yeah. And also the organization I was hired to or working for also recognized, not a few people, the ex-CEO, they recognized the problems that we are causing, or the Dutch secondhand clothing is causing in receiving countries. It's about waste, but also like production is decreasing, local production. So already in 2010, 2011, we were aware of this problem and how Dutch items are causing problems, and also it brings also positivity, but it is a bit of a gray area there. And what kind of responsibility we are actually having. It's also difficult for the Netherlands to reach circularity goals if we are shipping clothing to countries where we know there is no infrastructure for managing the waste that it eventually becomes.
Yeah, because I think now it's good to zoom out a little bit, because we're talking a bit about the system that you guys are operating in, which is the textile industry, the textile system. It's a global value chain. So there's a lot of companies that are connected, from producing companies to users, consumers, all the way to end of use. I think you're talking mainly now about the what we in the Netherlands would call the end of use, but you're seeing it as maybe the start of the use again. Can you maybe zoom out a bit in your research for NVU and the company that hired you? Did you only look at this part, or did you look throughout the value chain and then you kind of chose where you wanted to be? Can you maybe sketch like
why Kenya still? I didn't.
Like can you maybe zoom out a little bit? What were the problems that you saw within the textile system, and then why did you choose to go here?
There are several problems. So first, the things that we were doing with the university and the products that we were developing were very difficult to make them viable, and because the production costs were too high.
Why?
So, because of it, like a lot of things that you produce in the Netherlands is just becoming very pricey because of the labor cost, and all the processes are just expensive. So and because people are used to having cheap products, it's very difficult to compete with cheap products, and difficult to explain. So we were, for example, pressing like clothing hangers from textile waste. And they became 20 euros, 25 euros or something like that because it
Whereas
is
if you go to
you can
a
buy
small
them
shop for €1.
Yeah, so the price difference is becoming too high, too big. And so I realized like some things make sense to do in the Netherlands, like collecting for reuse because the quality is relatively high. Some other activities related to circular fashion, repair or upcycling or recycling or downcycling or fiber recovery, some things make less sense in the Netherlands because we don't have the industry so much to spin fibers again or weave yarn again or stitch it. Yeah, so exactly, we had it, and it's very difficult to build it up again. So we just buy things from Asia, and we donate them, and then they move to Kenya. So at the same time, we are part, or we have some responsibility for the problems caused in many African countries, and the idea became, okay, if these activities are not viable in the Netherlands, maybe we can kill two birds with one stone and sort of like take more responsibility for the damages or the issues that we create, while setting up businesses that might be viable here. So this is the idea. So I left NVU at some point and then wrote a plan and presented it to Kiki, and they funded me to check it, to see if it would work.
Yeah.
And it starts all with collection. That's why Africa Collect Textiles. It starts with collection, and the easiest way to kickstart circular fashion is just to collect things, and hopefully some wearable stuff is in there, because you don't have to do much. You don't need a lot of money to actually make sure that those items are getting another life.
And then it's quite a big step from finding a new industry and then becoming co-founders. How did that happen? So you saw the problems, you saw there was a business opportunity maybe, it made sense to you. How do you then decide we're gonna co-found Africa Collect Textiles?
Some things happen by nature. When I say by nature, then in 2015, the company had to merge with another company in the Netherlands,
Kiki,
and they had to pull out of Kenya. So through that, then they were looking for who will be the people who will take this conversation forward.
So wait a minute. So Kiki moved away from Kenya, but the issue remained.
Yeah.
And they kind of wanted someone to pick it up.
Yes.
They just left.
Okay.
So we decided to keep on trying.
Yeah. And by that time, you already knew each other and you knew you would work together well.
Yeah, we didn't know each other that quite closely or very well. but I feel you were aligned with the mission. And we felt no matter what, let's take this conversation forward.
And it's scary if someone else says, we're backing out, it doesn't work. What made you guys think, no, we're going to continue this? Because it's easier to then say, okay, they pull out, we're going to pull out as well. I'm going to try and find a different line of work. Why did you want to continue?
In this case, it's more of about personality, and I felt Elma and I had a patience personality, because not everyone is patient, and I can attest through the years we have worked with, even when people believed we are at the end of the runway, then we were patient to believe it's going to work out. So I feel that personality of a patient is one of the things we have never celebrated, but we believed and we say, no matter what, let it work. Even putting personal funds somewhere, I don't know, in 2016 or 2017 to make sure things are working. So that patience, that belief, and about the mission made us to continue. Many people close to me ask me, why would you do that? And why don't you look for another job that can handsomely pay you? But I thought I can never know until I learn. Therefore, it was an opportunity to learn.
Because other people saw the risk of it, that it's hard to be a pioneer. We talked about it before. You were like, I think people would copy it, but still we're kind of pioneering ourselves. We're doing something no one else does. Maybe explain why it's so hard to pioneer in that way, or why it's so nice to pioneer in a way, because it also feeds your fire. How do you?
Yeah, well, it took 7 years from the moment that we were sort of like were on our own till we had funding.
Okay.
And
that's
indeed,
a lot of patience that you need.
Yeah,
to
so
have.
we had to have other jobs. I even had to leave the country because of work permit issues, and I went to Uganda for 3 years, and then back to the Netherlands, and then.
And you stayed in touch over this time?
Yes.
Yeah,
and when I was living
close.
when I was living in Kampala, I mean, you can take a bus, or so I came here, I think, every 6 months.
Yeah.
And then we had a meeting, and then we talked about another collection point, or we lost collection points. So for 7 years, we sort of like were a bit stuck. So I went back to the Netherlands at some point after Kampala, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna go back and raise money for ACT. And then that took another few years. But it was a bit like, okay, I think you said it a bit in other words, but like really this feeling that you cannot be on your deathbed and thinking, I should have tried. Someone needs to try that. And as long as you can sort of like eat and survive on it, someone needs to try. So we could have let it go, and it was also sometimes, I think, even close, that we thought, okay, maybe you just have a normal job and leave it with that. But we kept in touch, and we just kept on trying to find the money for us to try.
Yeah.
And it was not easy to find the money, because it is, again, like, it is a new model in a new country. And if a textile collection in the Netherlands is about collecting wearable clothing, that is where the money is. But when our model is a bit more complicated than that, because it is about.
Maybe can you explain the model in simple terms to me? What is Africa Collect Textiles, or ACT, doing? How does it work?
So we are making fashion truly circular by collecting textiles. Sometimes again, we do collect third-hand clothes, for example. But we are kickstarting circular fashion in Kenya. We have now 40 collection points. where people can drop off clothes. We have a pickup service when people have big volumes or even mattresses, but also to collect uniforms and offcuts. And we sometimes buy unsold secondhand clothes from the markets. So after sorting, we make sure that the wearable clothes can be worn again. So we supply around 50 women, selected women with locally sourced, ultra cheap second-hand clothes or third-hand clothes in some cases, because we don't have to ship clothes all over the planet and we don't have import duties. It's all locally sourced. We are like 3-4 times cheaper than foreign second-hand clothes. So then we have a lot of materials that cannot be worn, and that is what we currently upcycle using typical Kenyan crafts like basket weaving and rug weaving and tailoring into new products like rugs and toys and baskets and bags. So we have around 30 different products that we are producing with our own. It's like act merchandise, but also we produce for other organizations. For example, we help organizations that use a lot of uniforms. We take the uniforms, upcycle them into their own merchandise that they can then resell. So, for example, we help Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, which is an elephant orphanage. We regularly get their uniforms, turn them into products, and then sell them back to them, which they then resell with a profit and raise money for their activities.
So we have a reuse, we have an upcycle.
Yeah.
That's it, or there's more?
And we are reselling materials to other international recyclers. So because we don't have all the machines yet to fiberize or to make felt or like paper materials, that needs a lot of capital investments. But other organizations in the world have that. So we are then in that case selling recyclable materials to others.
So how's the business model set up? Obviously, you're selling some products, you're collecting, you're reselling. How does the money flow in ACT?
Well, so we are trying to set up systems that can sustain themselves. So, for example, we have an upcycling department with around 12, 13 people. They are producing products that need to be sold with a profit, and so that we can sustain their jobs.
Yeah.
Then a lot of activities that we do are not per se profitable or can ever become profitable. The challenge that we have is that we are setting up a system that is new to many people, and a lot of people don't know that textiles need to be separated separately or donated or discarded separately from the normal trash for these items to still have a chance to be reworn or recycled. Mm-hmm. So that awareness creation and behavior change, setting up these collection points, that is a system that is infrastructure that is needed to kickstart all the other things, but is on its own very difficult to make profitable. And that's also in the Netherlands. You have charity collectors and you have more commercial collectors, but when we have to start from scratch, that needs to be built up, and we need to educate people and do a lot of activations and promotions to make sure that people separate textiles from the normal trash. And that is done by a foundation. So we have a foundation and a limited, basically doing everything that is needed to kickstart circular fashion, but can never become financially profitable or viable. Mm-hmm. We do that under the foundation. Everything that can be scaled and that can become profitable, and that also, which is where the most jobs will be created. And the more we sell, the more upcyclers we can hire. That is done under the limited.
So you have a two sides of the business.
Yeah.
Really, who should pay for the part of the business that can't become profitable? You have funds coming in, or you have... government support coming in? How is that being paid for?
No, that is, I mean, there is definitely, and I think it's also about patience, again, coming back to patience. If you look at us as a normal, like a startup, you need to focus only on upcycling or the uniform upcycling. You can only do a number of things if you want to get a return within 1 or 2 or 3, 4 years, because that is how investors normally think.
Yeah.
What we're doing is basically more like a system change, and it needs a lot more time to really make sure that a large part of the population is actually separating textiles. Also, businesses see the need, and they don't secretly burn their uniforms anymore in the backyard. But there needs to be proper amount of infrastructure actually for these companies to do the right thing. It takes a lot of time to develop that, and that cannot be done with this typical startup and ABC round kind of funding, because you don't have the time. And there's a lot of examples of that, of companies, social enterprises that are trying to play that kind of game and don't make it. And there's a whole list. This is why you need some sort of the ACT Foundation is basically building the foundation for all upcyclers and recyclers to have a chance. And to create a sort of an equal playing field with so-called asocial companies, because they don't have to consider all those things like awareness and behavior change and trying to get everybody on board.
So it needs a lot of convincing, a lot of getting people on board, education, awareness. Who takes up what part of the company? And trying to figure out how you complement each other in this business side as well.
Yeah, when it comes to commercial side of the business, more of a limited, and especially when we are running a huge production, then I take charge in that, and then Elma try to normalize that by taking care of the foundation, because then there's a lot of topic when it comes to the extended producer responsibility in the current time. Therefore, it's best suited to do that and to try and link why is it important to have this topic between the global north and the global south. Therefore, this is how we complement each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think we couldn't also do it without each other, because indeed Alex knows much better how to run things on the ground, and I see myself more as a middleman between the Netherlands or Europe maybe, or even India, or where some systems are already functioning and that need to be transferred. So I take up these kind of topics, and Alex more the on the ground running things.
Nice. Maybe that's a nice bridge to. I obviously am asking you a lot of questions, but I also want to give you the space to really say anything you want to say, whether it be a middle ground, whether it be a song, a dance, whether you want to ask something from someone, you just want to send out a message. This is your time to kind of take a spotlight and say whatever you want to say.
My message would be more to the Dutch or to the Europeans. I think it would be amazing that people will start exporting more than just used clothing. And there is a big opportunity also to export knowledge on collecting, sorting, even digital product passports or AI sorting. And I think we need to see African countries, we need to set up more equal trade and more equal opportunities for people in Africa, because we owe them a little bit. We have for 40 years, we have been selling our medium quality clothing to countries that have given us a service to rewear them again. And by doing that, we were more sustainable. And I think we sometimes forget a bit how privileged we are. And I not undermining how complicated it is to collect also and sort and keep your head up in the Netherlands or in Europe. I'm not saying it's easy, but we're still there on the right side or on the lucky side of the chain. Things are much harder here, and you don't want to swap with a reseller at the Gikomba market, where that probably not even earn enough money to put his or her children to school. So I would like to sort of like reach out to the people that, even though they have a tough life, or they are having complicated decisions to make all the time, but people that realize that their shoulders are actually quite big and can carry more, that they also consider doing more to support true circular fashion by giving us and other collectors and sorters and upcyclers in Africa the tools, the knowledge, the systems to increase their impact.
Thank you. So if people start doing this, they take more responsibility, we have awareness here, more trust here. Where is ACT in 5 years? What are you doing?
First, I would say I see ACT scaling up and now doing things in a bigger scale of processing more than 500,000 or even more than 1 million kgs of textiles every year. So it's an opportunity for us to do that. And on our roadmap, that's where we are going.
So
really in volumes, you want to scale up. And for you, where is ACT in 5 years?
Yeah, I think we have a plan, and what we also want to prove that ACT is a viable business, and that we have created systems that can sustain themselves. And we are constantly trying to capture and map and create things in a way that it can easily be adopted and transferred to other places.
You want people to copy you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and actually we are being copied sometimes in specific ways, and that is absolutely great. And I think if we can prove and there's a threshold somewhere that we can process serious amounts of kilos, then we are eligible for global EPR markets, which will make things easier also for others to kickstart the same. Mm-hmm. So if we can say, okay, after 5 years, ACT is processing millions of kilos, or at least one, we believe that there will be around 250 to 500 people somehow connected and influenced by the system, as a collector, as a reseller, as an upcycler, or whatever. Then there's no reason not to copy paste this in other places. And if the money becomes also available, and hopefully with the new legislations in Europe coming up, and the money starts flowing, so because brands will need to pay EPR fees, and if these EPR systems are actually functioning and set up for the right reasons, to protect our common planet from fashion aggression, then that money will be and should be available, because there is no point of not doing that, because it's possible.
And I know it's hard to pioneer. So you guys are proving that. You want to be replicated, people to copy you. Things need to change. A message of encouragement I have for you guys from another pioneer. He's a Dutch pioneer, Bert van Son, the founder of Mud Jeans, who is creating circular systems in the Netherlands. So this is what he had to say to you guys.
We had something to
Hello, Alex and Elmar. I'm very happy to see that you're going to make a podcast for the Green Times, Redefining Success. I hope that African Collect Textiles will be a huge success. I know myself how hard it is to go against the current. So I wish you all the best. Have a great time. Big regards from Bert van Son Mudjeans. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing.
That's even nice.
Yeah.
No, he is a true pioneer, and I understood also that he's passing on the stick now, and but yeah, he's an icon. What I admire in people like Bert, but there are more, and there are also very many examples in Kenya or in Uganda, Bobby from Bazooka Hill, but also I feel like the Rummage Studio, Khalid and Mohammed. What they're doing is they are building a brand and a system at the same time. So, and that is extremely difficult. So we are trying to build a system, and I wouldn't call us ACT a brand. We're trying, but people, if you need so much skills, and you need to be such a varied person or personality to be able to set up systems that actually recycle textiles into new textiles while setting up a brand that actually resonates with people's emotions. And these are two things, and if you can, two extremely difficult things, and if you're able to do that, then you have my respect.
I think it's good that pioneers support each other, because what he's saying, it's hard. Alex, you said we need a lot of patience. We need people from all over to trust, to change, to be aware. And with you, there's many people doing that. So words of encouragement, but also images of encouragement as a little thank you for coming on the podcast. Someone to look over your shoulder.
Bobby.
We have a small photo of you. So
Bobby is like I've seen his presentation at What Design Can Do. It's really impressed, because this is also like what he's also setting up systems, setting up a brand that is respected globally, and being able to tell his story in an extremely inspiring and captivating way.
Yeah. So you recognize the bales of clothes probably from the photo. There's many photos of him, but I thought this one was really nice. Something you're also dealing with, the storytelling. How do we make this sell? So as a little inspiration for your story as well, to have that at the office.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, the podcast is called Redefining Success, where we redefine success. The definition of success right now can be a bit shallow, and I'm really curious to hear from both of you how you define success.
To me, seeing ACT scaling from, I don't know, a 0 collection point to 40 plus collection point is a success. So how I define success is something should be measurable. Like you move from point A to point B in terms of numbers. That's a success. For example, if a company revenue move from X point to another point, I find that to be a success.
Every bit of progression should be celebrated.
Progression, of course, we don't celebrate, and that's the unfortunate part. We never celebrate our wins.
Not enough.
But we always cry about our falls. But I think this is what we do very badly. We don't celebrate when we win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So successful, but not celebrating.
It needs to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, Elmar, how do you define success?
Well, I think what success is that when you create systems that can that run on themselves, and that are not too dependent on one or two or three people. So it's not that we are sort of like trying to sort of like transfer already the company, but I think it would be extremely flattering that when I am with my pension or on my deathbed, that ACT is still running and growing, and that it is sort of taken over, and that it is that we have created robust systems that can just sustainably move on.
I think that's a nice bridge also to the last section of the podcast, which is the unanswered question. So the question I have for you is from Freek, who is from Johnny Cashew. It's a company that is creating creating a fair value chain from Tanzania in cashew nuts, selling in the Netherlands. And his question was, you already mentioned your deathbed. He called it a rocking chair. So when you're retired and you're sitting in your rocking chair, are you proud of the company you have built?
Well, if it still exists, yes. If it's, I think it's too early to say that. If we would both be run over by truck tomorrow, I think there is a big chance that our colleagues can pick it up or can just continue the work. I think that is possible.
Let me then rephrase the question a little bit, because you're
Okay.
saying it's too early to tell. Are you proud of what you're building?
Yes.
Very proud.
I like that. Maybe to end off, there's obviously a question for the next guest arriving. What is the one question that is now playing on your mind that I can transfer to the next guest?
Social enterprises are called social enterprises because normal enterprises are called enterprises. This way, I feel that a social enterprise will never be normal or standard. Do you think it's a good idea to call social enterprises enterprises and enterprises asocial enterprises?
I like it. I like it. I think that's a good question. Any final words, any final thoughts? Or can I thank you for being a guest on our podcast?
Well, thank you for having us, at least. This was great. Yeah.
Yeah, the final words, when pioneers of a fashion sector are given a chance to express themselves, I think that's the greatest feeling. Because one of our key challenges we need to preach is awareness. And when we see someone like you trying to put us into this platform, and be it one or two people will hear about us, I think it's an amazing thing, because people need to understand why are we doing what we do.
Yeah, and you guys deserve the focus and the money, both of it. So thank you for coming on. And it was lovely having you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This podcast was produced in partnership with Rabo Foundation, Stichting Doen en Rijksdienst voor Ondernemend Nederland. Production was done by Lumina Digital and it was recorded at Selina Lolo in Nairobi. Thank you for listening to the Green Times Redefining Success.